Hello and welcome back to episode number 29 of the Pin Podcast. I'm your host, Pin of Miami, and here at the Pin Podcast, we bring you modern topics with a vintage flair. And if you want to follow about new guests coming or past guests, past episodes, make sure to subscribe to the channel on any of your podcasting listening devices or on YouTube where you can see me and the guest. And you can follow us on Instagram at the Pin Podcast Official or my Instagram, PinUp Miami. Before we get started on today's episode, I just wanted to give a big thank you to all of you that are listening. And because if you're a returning listener, it means the world to me, and it means that you're interested in the topics that I'm bringing you. And if it's your first time listening, I hope you stay and continue listening and listen back to old episodes and subscribe or leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because that means amazing for me. That's great for our podcast. But the announcement that I have to make is all of the 2021 Pin calendars have sold out before the year ended. Today I mailed out the last calendar that I sold on the website, and we sold 200 calendars in less than 2 months. And I have to say, it's faster than last year, and it couldn't have been possible without all of you and everyone that was part of the calendar. Maddie, all the models, hair and makeup in South Florida. So really, from the bottom of my heart, I'm speechless. And yes, that means so much to me. So today's episode will be sponsored by the calendar. Thank you again so much. If you're interested in seeing the pictures, I'm not bringing it back. I want to keep it limited edition. But next year, make sure to get it soon. That's the only thing I got to tell you. Now, today, for our last episode, is so sad. It's the last, well, I guess it's not sad that it's the last episode of the year. Last episode of the year, because that means 2021 is coming and we're hoping for new and better things. But this last episode, I have the honor of having Kelly. She is a vintage enthusiast, an art admirer, a photographer enthusiast, or part-time photographer, and she works in the healthcare field, is an anime fan, and enjoys playing the guitar, singing, and she dances and is beautiful as well. Her Instagram is Kelly at KellyS. Let's give her a warm welcome. How are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me today in your podcast.
Ooh, thank you. This year has been crazy for you, no?
Oof, absolutely.
But before we get into that, I want to find your photography, because I've known you. I met you, Pinos at the Zoo was this year. Wow, crazy.
That's right.
But I didn't know you did photography. Tell me about that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, all right. Yes, I do. I love photography since very young age. And actually, few years after my wedding, I got into very serious into photography after seeing a lot of work of photography, and also honestly because in my own wedding, the pictures I was they were beautiful, but I don't know. I felt like there was something missing, and I'm I kind of got a little sad and nostalgic. I'm I have seen so many really excellent work out there, and then I feel a little bit sad inside. And then I thought oh my God, I wish I was a photographer, and anybody that I photograph, or the brides, especially in a wedding that is so important. It's a specific and important date in people's life, to do such a work that really good work that everybody's super happy and satisfied. It was good. I'm not saying that it was terrible experience, but I wish it was better. So that kind of put some fire on me to be hey, maybe I should I love photography. I would like to know a little bit more and study. And then I've been doing that for a few years. And finally I start when I thought that I have some knowledge and enough to start photographing, I went for it a few years ago.
Yeah, and it's Blue Empire Photography.
Blue Empire Photography, yes. I mean,
why the name?
My favorite color is blue, and I love New York, and one of my favorite buildings is the Empire State Building. So I was this is the name for the company, yes.
Oh, and you did that because you also work in the healthcare field, right?
Yes, I work in one of the biggest.
That must keep you busy.
Yes, and this especially this year, I work in one of the biggest hospitals in Miami, and it's been challenging. But it's good to know that a little bit of you, or you have the chance to help people or to step up. Especially during times like 2020 with this pandemic, is very gratifying to know that you're there when others probably can't, but you still serve to people. So it's really nice, very rewarding.
Mm. And this year has been rough with everybody because if you see the title of this episode, I called it the C word, which is COVID. COVID hit and everybody's plans, everyone's dreams and aspirations for the year, went down the hole. The last event that I had and that you went to was the spring fling at the Gold Coast Museum. And that was beautiful night. I was really hoping that COVID would be out of here so we could do it again in February because I really like that Valentine's vibe. But unfortunately, not just yet. Like, what did you think of COVID when you heard about it? When you heard about this pandemic?
Well, from the beginning, I took very serious this COVID thing. Even when we didn't know much, it's a lot of things that we don't know. Definitely. And with years, I think that's when we're gonna really find out, and scientific research is gonna tell us exactly what and why this really happened, because there's a lot of theories there, but still we don't know. What I took it very serious because I started following. Even before I got to the United States, I started following the news and reading a lot. And because I'm in the healthcare system, we kept hearing about like, oh, it's a pandemic, and is something that is going to be big, but we don't know how bad it's going to be, for how long it's going to be, or how serious it is. So I pay attention, and also because I start seeing what happened with Italy when they closed down, in Spain, but I saw that here was still like kind of like, oh, that's not gonna get here, like like everybody was like chill
fake
about
news.
it. Like, yes, fake news. So but then when I heard about countries like Spain or Italy closing, like like England, I'm like, this is no just whatever flu or no. And yeah, it was very scary. And then then everything else happened.
And on a personal note, can you tell? I know you got COVID. I haven't gotten any COVID. I did have like a weird moment that I thought I had it because some people one thing I've learned is a lot about people and the community. A lot of people are not willing to be a team player. I go to work. My boss has a daughter with COVID and he didn't wear a mask because he doesn't believe that he could get it. So I got tested every 3 days and he would think I was crazy. Even the people at the testing place thought I was crazy, like that they thought I was crazy. My boss was thinking I was crazy because he was saying that he was quarantining his daughter, but he really wasn't because they were having dinner together. And then even when you go out to events, people don't have their masks, and it's not, I don't know. I've really learned that people just are inconsiderate of other people.
Absolutely. It is. Well, I mean, like I think like even now, like it's sometimes unbelievable to me how I like keep seeing after so many people have died, and after so many have gotten very, very ill, how people still don't believe that it's happening, and they don't believe in all those deaths. They just or I don't know if it's like a state of denial, because they're too scared that they just prefer to block and believe, and they just choose to not believe that something like this is happening and a lot of like thousands of people are dying, or if it's just that they really don't believe in anything, or they don't care. Like unfortunately, there's a lot of people that is selfish and they just care about their happiness and enjoying and having a lot of things to do, and I understand because I'm pretty social myself. Like
my sister is actually a nurse practitioner at a hospital in Miami. and
Uh-huh.
she has seen. She's the one that told me in the very beginning to take this thing real serious, because as a nurse practitioner, she saw a lot of people coming to the hospital, and she was in charge of like the tent outside the hospital with all the COVID patients. She saw a lot of deaths, and she was telling me tips and tricks of how like to prevent it. But again, she didn't know for sure. She was just like, we don't know what's going on. So it's crazy. That's how I first I took it seriously, but that's when I hit it with my sister. Like, she's right there, seeing everything, and she was telling me, don't do this, wear this, make sure to do this. So I listened to everything she had to say, and I'm sure you, working in the healthcare field, like, you saw a lot of things, heard a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, especially I was I because of my position and exactly what I do, I had the chance to see the increase, and not only guided by the news or Facebook or whatever online. I saw it myself, like in person. Like I work in one of the medical records department, records custodian, and I always took it seriously, but when I saw the increase of people coming to get their COVID results or their relatives' records, or sadly, a lot of people was coming to request their relative or who had passed away because of COVID, and then they need that specific record for several reasons: insurance, life insurance policies, for insurance, the health insurance bills, like for many reasons. And I kept like seeing how they were coming and requesting, and or for themselves, like they just needed to know because of their work. And I was so scared. I was like, I am actually in contact with all of them, like, yeah, although we try to keep the 6 feet distance, like it's hard because it's so much you can with the mask, they can't hear you. You have to get a little closer sometimes to understand them, or for them to understand you. And then my work increased like 100%. Like I will get home like so tired because it was nonstop.
Wow. So tell me now, I'm curious to know, because the you're the closest person that I know that's had COVID. Besides,
Wow. Well, I mean,
personally, not like my boss's daughter, but like, so tell me, like, about how did you know that you had it?
well, um, let me start by saying that my COVID experience was very rough. Till today, I still struggle with the aftermath of my illness. And all this started on, um, July 27th. I'll never forget. It was a Friday, and I was in the hospital like non-stop, and everything that happened that week and the week before. It was like right after it was a holiday. I think it was 4th of July, that it was like a very high wave or infection, like like just like right now happened after Thanksgiving. It was exactly the same. Every time there is a big holiday where a lot of people go to the beach or family or party or barbecues, and I had a feeling, I was like, oh my God, like all these people are gonna be positive. They're all gonna be coming to get the results, and they're positive. And everything that I was releasing was like positive, positive. Like 1 or 2 out of 10 were negative. And so I was freaking out. But whatever, we had a little work, and I felt very tired. That Friday, I felt extremely tired. I was supposed to meet with a friend for dinner, and I'm glad that I canceled, because I called my friend and say, I just finished work, but you know what, I'm gonna go home. I feel tired. I feel like I need to sleep. I'm so extremely fatigued. And I don't know, maybe getting like a flu or like a cold, or or maybe I'm just like extremely tired because this week was insane. And yeah, I went home. I remember getting home and even telling my husband in that moment, look, I am not gonna have dinner. I feel extremely tired. I'm just gonna take a shower, get in my PJs, go to sleep. And that's pretty much what I did. When I went to sleep, I had a lot of like tension of my neck. That was my very first symptom, and the tiredness generally. And when I woke up the next day, I have like already like the body ache, like all my muscles were like sore. It was like if I had gone to work out really, really hard, some competition in a few
Wow.
weeks, and I had work out and do weights or something, but it was like, or if I had run in the Olympics, I don't know. It was that type of like soreness and pain. And then I have a headache. And I had a fever. Then I got in a fever. And then that moment when I had the fever, I was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
just no. And I started getting like nervous, but I wanted to believe that I wasn't sick. So I was like, no, maybe I'm just tired, and maybe I don't know. Um,
Denial.
yeah, like like I was just scared to that because
Yeah.
in my case, I'm have immunocompromised system, and I suffer a connective tissue disorder slash lupus, and I was already being warned several times, like you need to be careful, especially you. You pretty much don't have an immune system, and if you get this virus, this could be very bad, or it could be for you. And I'm like, ugh. So when I got that fever, I was very concerned, and it kept getting worse. All my pain, I had a little bit like pain in my throat, and the neck pain got so bad that I in that moment I called my boss and I told her, look, I'm gonna head to the ER or to the urgent care because I either had COVID or I even thought that I had meningitis. I was like, this headache was like my head was gonna explode. It was I suffer headaches, but like that, no. And I was like, I either have meningitis because I have the headache, fever, and very stiff and really terrible neck pain, or I got the COVID. But since I didn't know how COVID felt, I was like either or. And I got to the urgent care, and unfortunately, back in that time, because it was such a high infection rate in that week, I had to wait for 4 days before I got my results. And that's when, finally, when I
Yeah.
looked and I logged in online, it says positive. But during those 4 days, fever. Some people have like the very mild COVID. I didn't have that. I had all the symptoms that you have seen out there or that people have mentioned. I had them. I had the fever. I had the headache. I have the neck pain. I have very bad, intense back pain. I had a cough.
Could you
I had
taste things?
no, no. I like after like the let's say I got tested on Sunday. Like by Tuesday, like pretty much like 4 days, 3 to 4 days after, I lost I couldn't smell anything. I couldn't taste anything. I have stomach problems. I even developed a rash on certain parts of my body. But again, because I'm immunocompromised and I have this issue, I was like, everything is getting combined. I don't know what's going to happen. And then I start having the cough, and it concerned me a lot because in the past I've had pneumonia. So, and the fever will keep increasing, and the fever never went away. It broke like probably like a week after, almost 9 to 10 days after I had COVID. Like it was nonstop, everyday fever. I couldn't sleep. I would cry. And I was extremely worried that, yeah, my doctor said, I'm going to send an order. I need you to go immediately to the ER. I'm admitting you, like, you are not doing good. Like, your COVID is getting worse. It's no more treatable at home. So, when I went to the ER and I was admitted,
Wow.
it was really tough. When I get to the hospital, they did a CAT scan, and by that time I had already developed bilateral pneumonia. I had the pneumonia in both lungs, and my labs were like, the numbers were crazy. It was very scary.
What is labs?
It was my blood work. It was all irregular. It was
Oh,
I have inflammation, internal inflammation. It was really bad. My lungs were already getting compromised, and everything was bad. Everything was like really bad. It was very scary and very emotionally hard because once I had to pack to go to hospital, I packed my little bag crying without knowing if I was going to be able to come back home. That's how scary and how sick I was feeling at that moment. And when my husband dropped me off at the ER, he couldn't go in. Like, they don't let anybody in. So when he dropped me off, I looked at him one more time because I was like, I don't know if this is the last time that he's going to see me or that I could see him. And it was very, very emotionally, was like,
my
really bad.
gosh.
And so physically it was like really bad. And then it gives you a really hard time in so many ways that people don't imagine. Like, I had anxiety, I have depression, like, I was scared to death.
And you were alone with, besides only the nurses, nobody could visit you, right?
No one, nobody's allowed. I was immediately admitted. When they start treating you, but back in that time, only people who was extremely, really already like bad, like probably like in a ventilator already, could get that medication, remdesivir, and it was given to them. But it was the hospitals were packed. Like the hospital that I was in was full. So for like they were short supplying the medication, so I couldn't get it. The little medication left of the remdesivir that they had, they gave it to the patients that had the worst, like they were about to die. And so I have to get another set of like treatment. But in the meantime, like sometimes I had to have oxygen. It was really scary.
Somebody worse than what you were in?
Yeah, people who was on a ventilator. Thankfully, I didn't have to, I didn't get in my oxygen levels dropped drastically, but never to the point to be in a ventilator. Thank God, because I had a cousin actually that was on a ventilator and he didn't make it. Like he lasted like 2 weeks and he passed away because of COVID. So I was scared. Like I was extremely scared. Like, oh my God, I hope I don't have to be in a ventilator because then your chances drop a lot. Yes.
Oh, Mike, I can't even imagine. Oh.
Yeah.
How long were you in there for?
In the hospital, I was admitted for a week. And what kept me...
It must have felt like forever.
Yes. What kept me going was I was too sick to be in the phone like all the time, but with my very closest people, I kept in touch. And in fact, this is good that it happened when we are in a technology era, because I was able to conference or video conference with my mom. My mom was like suffering immensely because she's not even in this country. So, and she couldn't come even if she wanted. Airports were closed. It was very bad, but my friends and my family kept me going, and God.
Yeah. Pulled through. When did you know you were feeling better? Like, did you feel like a day that you woke up feeling better, or how did you get out of it? I guess that's my question.
Yes. When I was discharged, I wasn't discharged just because I was better. No, not at all. I was discharged because actually they explained to me, it was so many patients that since I was more stable, they hooked me up with a machine that actually was like through my fingers, and it was like a wristband, and it was like something electronic that measures all my oxygen, my heart rate, my blood pressure. Very nice. It was actually very easy. It's connected to the phone, and that reports it straight to the medical team and the ER. So with that, is like you are admitted but treated from home because they needed beds. They needed beds for people who was critical. Okay. So once they they consider me like you're stable or enough stable to be home. But if anything changes or you get worse and you have to come back, then they send me home. But I will think that I was really, really sick for about a month and a half. Like I got swollen. I don't know if it was the medications. I didn't know if it was COVID. Um, I have problems with the circulatory problems. Like I was getting like blood clots, which was very concerning. That when in the hospital, they have to give me like injections in my stomach, like very painful. It's like huge, like injections. I'm like, oh no, because I was having problems with blood clots, and they had to make sure to not send me home while I was like that. And once I got home, I don't know what part of the medications or the treatment or the virus got me that my face swole. It was like really, I was really swollen. My hands, they were like terrible, and I was calling doctor again. I'm like, this is happening. Do I need to go back to the hospital? It was really bad for like a month and a half, really bad. Then finally I start feeling like, okay, there is less pain. Finally I tested negative. But then I have to deal with the aftermath. I have like liver issues. It affected my liver. It affected my kidneys, my lungs. I have to follow up with several specialists, pulmonologists, gastroenterologists, rheumatologists, my primary doctor. I had 6 different doctors in my whole experience because of different things that affected, like the virus affected or damaged in my body. And
Holy cow.
Yeah. Actually, this week is when after 5 months, this Monday, that's when I actually was able to get back to work. I was finally given medical clearance to return to work. So I was for 5 months at home recovering. Even physical therapy I needed, which I'm still going for physical therapy.
Whoa. I'm speechless.
I'm a fighter. So.
You are a fighter. I admire you even more after this conversation. And I'm just thinking, it's just so many thoughts. Like, I don't know, from you leaving your husband, thinking it's the last time, to being in like a hospital, not knowing what's going to happen. And then everything that happened when you left, like, I would have been worried. I'm sure you were worried. I'd be worried about leaving and I still have symptoms. Like you said, you kept calling your doctor. But these are the things that, I appreciate you so much for sharing this story, because, people need to hear these stories, because they don't know, especially that even if you get it, it's not just you get it and it passes like a flu. It could affect you in this way. And it could be like, it could lead to death. You could fight it. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? And then it's just like I said, like I'm speechless, because it's so much that we don't think. I mean, in your situation, like I really don't know how I would have reacted, to be
it's
very honest, because it's really scary.
It's very scary.
I'm so glad that you are still here.
Thank you. It's the unknown, and then the frustration, because like with COVID, what I feel like, or what I think, is that you have to deal with everything at the same time. You have to deal with the body, with the illness, with the virus while you still have it. And then after the virus is gone, then you still have to deal with the aftermath. But at the same time, you have to deal with emotional issues. I suffer anxiety like regularly, but with COVID, my anxiety was like my hands will shake. It's like I have to. Actually, one of my specialists was neurologist, because they were trying to see if I was affected neurologically, because my hands will like not stop shaking. I would have this weird. You know what? Actually, I thought that COVID caused me got to like a pre or early menopause, but no, thank God. Because I got this, like, it felt like my internal thermostat broke. I had this intense heat waves, and then I would be very, very cold. And I was like, and I will sweat. Like it was like 2, 3 a.m. I would have to get up, change my PJs because I was soaked in sweat.
Wow.
But it was like this content that I will ask my husband. I was like, "Hi, babe, did you turn the AC off? Like it's flames. Like I would think like if somebody put me inside an oven and turn it on, it was like." And sometimes I still experience that, but it has gotten better. But again, you have to deal with the physical and the emotional, and also your family and your loved ones, because that's another that's another part of it.
Yeah, because not only are you going through that, your mom's going through it, and you're trying to console her because she's your mom and she's not here, and then you got your friends, and
Yeah.
but for
You
you,
have
a
to
lot
give
of
this face. He was like, "Yes, I'm getting better," but inside you already know, like you're like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna make it!" Like, yeah, like,
yeah,
it's hard. It's hard because then you never know what other like my always my concern with my mom and my family. We couldn't even tell my grandma. I asked my mom, like, I'm asking you to not disclose my illness to my grandma because she's older and she has like heart issues. And I said, like, and I'm like, I want to take the favorite, and so it's like I adore her and she adores me. So like, if my grandma knows that I have COVID, she might think something go really bad, and she might have a heart attack, or she might. So we didn't tell her until I was out of hospital, and actually like a month after, that's when we told her that I had COVID.
well, they're looking out for your grandma. And that says a lot about you as well, because most people, I mean, not most people, but I would see a lot of people in that situation only care about themselves and me. I really love the fact that you're considerate of your family and your grandma that could get a heart attack and it could be worse. But it just goes to show that it's all a team effort. You know what I mean? A little give and take, you know that you were really bad, but you cared about your family. I really appreciate that, Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, so you have to be strong, and also like you have to convince yourself that you're gonna. I mean, although you might be scared, super scared, but you always have to believe that you are gonna make it. And even when you're feeling the worst, you're gonna say, "No, I'm bouncing back, and I'm fighting this. I'm battling, and I'm gonna win." Even when you are thinking like, "No, I feel terrible," and people, listen to this, your mind is powerful, but also the support that you have is very, very important. I was freaked out because I didn't want to get my husband sick, and guess what, we were living in the same place. Obviously he couldn't go anywhere because once our closest people knew that I had the COVID, well, obviously nobody will tell him like, "Hey, you come." Like, he's exposed.
Yeah.
So, but we were very careful. Like, I used my mask all the time. He used an N95 mask all the time. I was on the second floor. He was on the first one. I was more isolated. He would bring me the food, the medications, anything that I try not to touch anything. I didn't cook. I didn't, the only thing that I would touch was like probably the restroom. And, I will disinfect like with the Lysol, the spray, everything that I will touch, even if it was only a few things. But we were very careful. Like, he tested negative
He never got sick.
Yeah, and he never got sick. He's strong. That's why, like, or lucky. I don't know.
Are you sure he wasn't messing with the AC? No,
I know. Maybe I'd be like, are you sure you didn't want to scare me more than I already was?
So since you went through all that, would you say like the number one advice to anyone who gets COVID is to think positive? I know it sounds so cliche, but
it's hard.
What advice would you give?
It's hard. I would say that would be like one good thing to try, but it's hard because I myself had my moments of doubt, but I just knew that I had to be strong. And everybody's so different. There's a lot of people that is very powerful in their mind or very strong, and there is people who is not that strong. I am one of the ones that I'm not that strong, so I have to force myself, and that's part of it. But at the end of the day, this virus is very aggressive, so you might be the most positive and strong person out there, and it might do its thing, and it might just take you. I think my advice actually for people is to just like try to not expose yourself, like just like no, try not to do things that I know it's hard because it's been a long time, but really there's a lot of things that people do that they're not necessary. Like I had to go to work because I work in a hospital and I was needed, I was first responder, I was there, like I have, work, then I would have to quit. And I made my job like many millions of people. So, but I also noticed that there is a lot of people that they just go out, go to restaurants, go to see friends, go to family, go to barbecues, go to the park. I understand it's tough to stay home. I am very social with myself. I know that I like to go out. I like to enjoy a band, like a live band playing. I like to go to
dance?
New places. I love to dance. I love to, I love art, but there is a time for everything. And this was one of those that like you have to set your priorities, what is really needed, what is really important. I could tell you this week I returned to my job, and I can obviously, for privacy reasons, cannot disclose names or not even the name of the hospital that I work for, but something very sad happened this week. I met this lady that she came to request her husband's medical record. He had passed away because of COVID. And she told me, she tells me, can you believe, crying. She told me, can you believe that we just came from my country to spend Thanksgiving day with my daughter? So it was just for a week and a half. He got COVID here because of the once at Thanksgiving. We don't know at one moment. We don't know if it was at Thanksgiving or it was, that week that we were here for Thanksgiving. He got sick. He got COVID here, and he was admitted, and he passed away. She was crying. It broke my heart. And she told me, she goes like, we knew that we could have waited to see our daughter, but he insisted that we were going to be fine, that everything was getting controlled, vaccine was already about to be released. He really wanted to see her because he was not going to be able to come in the holidays for the end of the year. And he really pushed to come, and she was like, no, and she'll tell me, she's like, in my country we were all the time at home. He took care of himself so much. We took care of ourselves like so much. We were so careful, and we came here just for Thanksgiving, and this happened. Crying. And I said, like, I'm so sorry. I feel so terrible for you and your family. I'm gonna keep you in my prayers. Just like, think that things happen this way, and he was happy to see his daughter. That was his wish, and unfortunately, like, this is gonna be really tough in the following weeks because it's the holidays and everything else. But that's what happens. Like, a lot of people, I still believe that because less people is getting infected, which is not like that. It's not true. Or because the vaccine is released, or because a lot of people just go by this concept of 99 point something people survive. But it's like they're confusing the 1% of thousands of people getting very ill or sick. So, like, I think they confuse 1% with 1%. It's not 1% people. It's not like, no. And they just get very, they relax. And they start doing everything like if it's normal. I can tell you, but from my balcony, from my balcony, I keep seeing all the people I live like by the water, so I kept seeing people in the boat, like party, like people, like boats full of like you could tell, like it was like 10 to 15, 20 people, yachts, like with party, and I was like, why is these people doing? It made me feel really sad and concerned, because I'm like, seriously, sometimes I will get upset and frustrated and very disappointed to people, because like, I am risking my life every day going to work. I'm risking my life, my husband's life, my people around, because I'm getting exposed, because I have to. I'm a healthcare worker, and I do it with love. But you're still concerned. You're still a human being. You're worried about yourself and your family. And then I see these people just there while everybody was like, when we were like in a little lockdown, people was partying on them like, so you're not working because your job is not having you work, or maybe you're working few some hours from home, but then you took this time for vacation and relaxing and partying and socializing and going crazy. While police officers, doctors, nurses, all the scientific community, and people who really has to go out and expose themselves, do it for you. But like, why are you doing party while I'm working and risking my life for you? Like, people like you, like, and don't care. It was, to me, it was very upsetting so many times.
Mm. And as a healthcare worker, have you taken the vaccine?
Not yet, because first of all, I just went back to work Monday. So, and the vaccine, they actually, I think, that arrived this week to the hospital that I work. But in my case, I have to confirm first with because I have my problem. I have to get okay by my rheumatologist, and so it's optional. It's not mandatory, and a lot of people, a lot of my coworkers are deciding to take it. But I think it's gonna take. It's gonna happen next week. I think next week is happening, and some people already got it this week in my hospital. But my turn is not yet, and then I have to discuss with my doctors.
My sister got it 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like, it's a little scary because it's like that, like, oh, should I wait to see what happens with other people? But like, exactly, like, once you're in the medical field, your risk is already so much that and I mean, if it's approved, and it's a lot of like, if doctors and medical field is taking it, and politicians, like very important people, like, then that okay, you should consider big time to take it. Like, everybody makes their own decision, but and I cannot tell people, yes, do it, no, do it, no. That it's a personal decision, but
yeah,
I see that a lot of people is doing it. So most likely, I will do it in the time that I'm allowed to.
I want to take it. I mean, I'm not a priority in the list of people getting the vaccine, but I would take it when I have the opportunity. So,
Yes,
hi, Kelly.
yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this story. I really didn't know everything you went through. I see you in a total different light.
Yes.
But really, thank you for sharing your story, because I reached out to you because I know that your story was intense, but it also will give perspective to the listener, how a real person that went through it.
Yes. Actually, during these months, and what I wanted to mention to you, like, COVID is still out there, so people don't relax, because no, and even if the vaccine is there, this is gonna stay for a long time. But if anyone has a question, they can reach me, and I could answer. I could give you tips if anybody gets infected and they wanna ask something specific. That's what I've done these 5 months. People has called me or text me or reach out and say, "Hey, Kelly, I just tested positive. What should I expect, or what did you recommend? What were the things that worked for you?" I've been doing that these 5 months. So I wasn't working, but I was recovering myself, and I would like, give recommendations to people. It's up to them to do it or not. I just can share what it worked for me, like some of the stuff, and if anyone, or if a relative or a friend or somebody important gets infected, and you have questions, or yourself or anyone, just feel free to reach me out. I'll try my best to share my experience and to give you tips on what stuff worked for me.
Oh, I'll put your your information and your Instagram down below in the description so people can reach out to you. Thank you for doing that.
Fine, I'm here to help in anything I can. It was very tough for me, so anything that I can do for anyone, I'm more than glad and to do it. It's important. I take the time to do it. Believe me, I will make the time to answer any questions or any recommendations that anyone needs from anywhere in the world.
Anyway, how many languages do you speak?
Only
two. There you go. She's bilingual.
Well, kind of like three, like English, Spanish, and Spanglish.
Spanglish is a real thing.
Yes, it is.
All right, Kelly. Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing. It means so much to me. And I'm so happy that we ended up, before we end this podcast, since it is the last podcast of 2021, we know COVID is not leaving anytime soon completely. Do you have any New Year's resolutions that you'd like to share?
New Year's resolutions. Wow. This year has been very intense in so many other
Just one off the top of your head or whatever. So,
resolution will be you caught me off guard.
Sorry.
No, well, actually, because with my experience, being very sick, eating healthier and doing more physical exercise, and actually, I wanted to do really yoga, because it helps not only physically and your spine and all that flexibility, but also here. So I think anything that is relaxing and is good, and meditation is good for your growth in all the ways. Yeah, I think that's one of my resolutions: exercise and yoga. Try to live a healthier life style.
That help with the anxiety as well. I used to do Bikram yoga, the hot yoga. And it's kind of, the first time was not easy. The first time wasn't bad. The second time was hell. And then the rest was really all about mental. So you have to control your breathing and the heat. So it really does mellow you out. I felt really good after them, even though I couldn't do all the poses, but it still helped me.
No, it is really good. I have a lot of friends that practice, and that's what they look so nice and relaxed, and it helps them a lot. I have a lot of back problems, and as you know, I'm a dancer, not a famous or professional dancer, but I love dancing, and I studied dance.
Famous in my eyes.
So I think it's good. It's good for anyone.
Thank you for sharing that as well. Now, I know I said in the last episode that Vivian was my guest, but I got the episodes confused. I had Kelly today, but next week to start off the year, I'm bringing back Vivian, and we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions and a little wrap up of 2021. I didn't want to wrap it up at the end of 2021, because what if something happens in a week? This year is so crazy.
Yeah.
Anything might happen. All right, but thank you, Kelly. I hope to catch you all next week on Wednesday. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I love you all, and Happy New Year.
Love you. Thank you.